Welcome to the last week of the winter quarter of Explore the Bible. Today we finish up in the book of Genesis, the last chapter, chapter 50, the end of the story of Joseph. So looking forward to that. I know you're going to enjoy it this morning. Maybe it's not this morning for you. Maybe it's this afternoon. I don't know when you're watching this. But anyway, hey, I know you're going to enjoy it. I want to, before we do that, be sure and like, subscribe, be sure and share the video, comment on it, let us know how God's been working in your life through this time. All right, so let's dive into Genesis chapter 50. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, and they said to one another, "If Joseph is holding a grudge against us, he will certainly repay us for all the suffering we caused him." So they sent this message to Joseph: "Before he died, your father gave a command." All right, so the family's been reunited in Egypt. Great reunion happens. But then ultimately, Joseph's father, Jacob, dies. Well, it's going to happen, right? So when he dies, and the brothers see that, the brothers think, is it possible that the only reason Joseph was being nice to us was to get our dad here, whom he loved and who loved him, but now that he's gone, he's gonna take his vengeance out on us, that he was being kind to us until dad died, and now that dad's not around to watch anymore, we could be in trouble, right? If he's still got a grudge, he will certainly repay us for the suffering that we caused him. They knew that what they had done was wrong. They knew that what they had done was painful for Joseph. And they knew that Joseph had expressed forgiveness to them, but they didn't believe it. Because how could anybody forgive that, right? I think it's reasonable to understand how they might feel that. And they think, could be that he said all the right things, but he's still holding a grudge, that he's still angry, that he's hidden that well for the sake of our father, but now that dad is gone, he's going to take it out. So why don't we do this? Let's send him a message and tell him something that dad told us right before he died, conveniently. Say this to Joseph: "Please forgive your brother's transgression and their sin, the suffering they caused you. Therefore, please forgive the transgression of the servants of the God of your father." Like they're sending this message saying, "Dad said you ought to forgive us." I don't know what you want to do with that, but I know you loved him, and if you want to really make him happy, even after he's gone, you really need to forgive us. Joseph wept when their message came to him. His brothers also came to him, bowed down before him, and said, "We are your slaves." Okay. Joseph wept. Why did Joseph weep? Well, let's see. We'll get there, right? But they show up and they bow down. "We're your slaves." They are now taking this point of we have kind of been living in a state of forgiveness, but we're not sure it was real forgiveness. We think maybe it was fake, and now it's time for us to grovel to try to preserve our lives. But Joseph said to them, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You planned evil against me. God planned it for good, to bring about the present result, the survival of many people. Therefore, don't be afraid. I will take care of you and your children." And he comforted them, and he spoke kindly to them. It wasn't fake for Joseph. He wasn't pretending that he had forgiven them. He comes back to this again. God planned this for good. He says, you were doing an evil thing. He is not excusing what they did. He is not minimizing what they did. He is saying, this was an evil thing you did against me. So he's not at this point of forgiveness because he has decided, well, it just wasn't that big a deal. God was going to bring good out of it, so who cares? No, it was wrong. It was terrible, but I have forgiven this. I've forgiven it. God has freed me from that. Remember this, the name of his son. I was able to forget the hurt that my family caused. Right? Don't be afraid. You planned it evil. God planned it for good to bring about where we are now. God's the one who got us to this place now, the survival of these people. So don't be afraid. I will take care of you and your children. he is reinforcing to them, you don't need to feel guilty, and you don't need to feel condemned, and you don't need to feel scared of me. I love you. You're my brothers. You're my family. And this forgiveness is real. This forgiveness is genuine. This forgiveness is from my heart. This forgiveness is sincere. These words that I'm saying to you, this freedom that you have here is not pretend. This is the real thing. Forgiveness is hard. It's hard to get to a place where we can forgive others. Joseph, through the things that had happened in his life and through his relationship with God, had come to a place of forgiveness before his brothers ever showed up in Egypt. He had already forgiven them, right? He was already at that place. And when his brothers showed up, he was just able to express to them what had already happened in his heart. Not saying it was easy, it was hard for him, but he got there. But I do want to say this: forgiveness is not just hard for the one who forgives, it is often also extremely hard for the one who needs to be forgiven. It's hard because we still remember, right? They haven't walked through this relationship with God like Joseph has. They haven't had this relationship with God like Joseph had. They have been living with this guilt for decades, right? And they have been living with this feeling of sin in their own lives for decades, and they have reminded themselves, and sure, they have talked about it with one another, and they've thought about it on their own, and they've dwelled on it, but they've never dealt with it before the Lord. And now, they're having to deal with it before Joseph, and it's hard to forgive yourself, right? It's not the right phrase, right? It's hard to accept forgiveness from someone else. And because we have lived guilt-ridden lives and skeptical lives, we are skeptical of someone else's genuine faith and trust and ability to forgive. And you see, my unwillingness to accept your forgiveness says much more about my walk with God and my own trust in who I am, not in who you are, right? They didn't trust themselves. So it was extremely hard for them to trust Joseph. And so the act of living forgiveness out to someone requires a lot from us, a lot more than just saying, I forgive you. He comforted them, and he spoke kindly to them. He forgave them, and he lived that forgiveness out in front of them. And it's a challenge, isn't it, to forgive? It's a challenge to be forgiven. Let's talk about what some of the other challenges are for why it's hard for us to accept real forgiveness. What makes that difficult for us? Okay, thanks for watching. Hope this has helped. God bless you as you teach, as you lead a class, as you study God's Word. Bless you for that. Appreciate you watching. Subscribe to the channel, like, comment. Let us know. What do you think some of the hard things are about being forgiven? Why we hold on to that guilt and that bitterness against ourselves often. All right? Let me know. All right? Share it with others. Hey, we'll see you next time we start a brand new quarter next week. See you then.